Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and Miniature video. In this video, we're going to continue on with our Battlegroup Boot Camp. Alright, the Battlegroup Boot Camp is a series of videos that I'm making to explain the game rules to a novice, a noob, someone who hasn't played Battlegroup, and it is a blow by blow. I am actually going over every line in the rulebook and kind of putting my 2 cents in at the same time. Primarily, it's a reiteration of the actual rule book. All right, in the first video, we did an introduction to Battlegroup and some explaining Battlegroup and the expectations and what you'll need to play Battlegroup. Now in this video, we're actually going to start breaking the rules down. Okay, so the first part of the rules is the turn and orders. So in this video, we're going to talk about the turn and we're going to talk about issuing orders. All right, the turn. Now, Battlegroup is played in turns. Players take turns to command their forces, issue orders, and resolve those orders. Before the turn passes to your opponent, who then also repeats the sequence with their own forces, there are exceptions to this rule, but in general, the game works by both players taking a go one after the other. And it's done in the following order. The turn. Here we go. Roll, order, dice. Okay, so you roll a number of d6 determined by the game size. There are 4 sizes of the game. One of them is squad, another is platoon, another is company, and another is battalion. Really, all that means is how big is your game. A squad-sized game doesn't mean both sides have one squad. It's just a label they used for the game. A squad-sized game allows for 1 die per side to determine how many orders you can issue. A platoon game has 2 dice, a company-sized game has 3 dice, and a battalion-sized game, which could have multiple companies on the table, gets 4 dice. You also add to that die roll the number of officers you have on the table. So imagine you're playing a platoon-sized game, which means you're going to be rolling 2 dice, right? And in your army, you actually do have an infantry platoon of 3 squads with the platoon leader. And the platoon leader has the officer trait, which he should. So that means you'll roll 2 dice and add 1, right? So I rolled a total of 4 on the dice, and then add 1. I'll be able to issue 5 orders. Well, that's good, because an infantry platoon has 3 squads and the command element. So with 4 orders, you should be able to command everything. There is a scenario in which you broke off a machine gun out of your infantry or your BARs into a different team, and you would actually have more than just 4 elements in your platoon. But we'll get into that in a minute. So you roll based on the game size that you both agree to. You roll a number of dice. If it's a platoon scale game, you'll roll 2 dice and add your number of officers. Then part 2 of the turn order is you will issue your first order. I don't really need to say this, but you'll issue your first order, you'll issue your second order, you'll issue your third order, you'll all the way up until you're done, and then it will go to step 5. Because 2, 3, and 4 is basically just issuing your first order, issuing your second order, issuing your third order, etc., and continue that process. And then you go to step 5, which is rally. Okay, so when you issue your first order, you have to issue the order, resolve the order, complete the order before moving on to your second order. So if I give this tank an order to move, let's say, it will have to move before I can issue my order for my infantry. I can't say, okay, I'm going to issue an order to move with this guy, I'm going to issue an order to shoot with this guy, I'm going to issue an order to... No, you have to issue one order and move it and finish it. Now, if it is a huge battle, like you're running a battalion on the table and you've got units all over the place, I recommend using a little token or a die or something, and once a unit has been issued an order, put that token on it. That way you know it's done. And when your turn is over, just go in and collect up all of your tokens, and that says, your turn is finished. Then you jump to rally. You remove pinning markers from pinned units, and there's rules for that. And then once a player has removed any pinning, the turn passes to his opponent. And then what does he do? Rolls dice, adds his officers, issues his orders, and then he rallies. Pretty straightforward. Very simple to follow. Roll the dice, get your orders, issue your orders, finish your turn by rallying. Okay, now, the next thing is orders, officers, and reactions. Okay, each turn a commander, that's you, can issue a predetermined number of orders. The orders are determined at the start of the turn by rolling your dice. Okay, as well as the dice roll, the player also adds to his score the number of officers. Those are the men running the battle and passing on the orders. So the more officers in a battle group, the more effective a fighting force will be at disseminating information. So if a battle group includes 3 officers in a platoon level game, then the player will roll 2 dice and add 3. In a battalion level game, it would be 4 dice and add 3. We got that. If you are manually creating your battle group with points, keep that in mind, and also note, maybe on a side of your page, how many officers you have, because it'll help in determining what you add to your die rolls. And if your officer gets killed, wounded, or captured, he stops granting you that extra plus. Okay, reaction orders. Hey, this is a battle, and each side is seeking to destroy the other. You can't expect to move around the battle without attracting attention. Funny. An alert enemy will react to your movement. This is covered by reaction orders. In your turn, you can issue your units one of the 2 reaction orders, either ambush or reserve move. That basically allows you to do something on your opponent's turn, missing your current turn in order to wait to see what happens and then react. You can issue as many reactions as you wish and your total orders allow. Okay, so issuing orders. Now, once your commanders determine the number of orders you can issue, you can set about issuing orders. Orders allow you to act generally by moving and shooting. Now, to issue an order, you simply select a unit, say what order you're giving them. That unit then acts upon that order. And once it's complete, you move on to nominate the next unit and issue it an order. This continues until all your orders have been issued A unit can only be issued a single order. It cannot have another. Also, importantly, a unit which is pinned cannot be issued an order, as it is currently too busy avoiding being killed. When there are no orders left to be issued, or you do not wish to issue any more orders, or you're unable to issue any orders, the turn moves to the rally phase. Now, reaction orders. The order sequence above can and will be interrupted by reaction orders, either ambush or reserve movement. A unit can be issued a reaction order in its own turn, but cannot do so if it's pinned, obviously. Any unit that is issued a reaction order will usually not act on its own turn, but will wait and act on the enemy's turn. I'm reiterating what I've already said. A unit can act on the reaction order at any point in the enemy's turn. It can jump in straight away, before a single enemy unit has been given an order, or it can wait until the very end, before the rally phase starts. It can also be used to interrupt an enemy moving midway through a move, or firing before an enemy unit opens fire itself, but not midway through a fire order. If a unit with a reaction, let's say this guy, becomes pinned before it has acted, then it cannot now act, but it retains its order for when it becomes unpinned. So if he's able to become unpinned, he'll still have that ambush fire. But while he's pinned, he can't use the ambush fire. You just hold on to it. Okay, the different orders. There's a number of them, but they're all pretty self-explanatory. So here we go. Usually they have two halves. You have a first action and a second action as part of most of these orders. So let's look. We got maneuver and fire. Okay, I'm just going to put him back. Put him over here. There we go. Maneuver and fire. A unit will move into position and then open fire. So like this guy would move his 5 inches and then shoot. Bang, bang, bang. Right? So that's a maneuver and fire. Now, if this was considered a squad, all of them would move and shoot, because squads stay together and they act as one unit. They get issued one order. But if this guy over here was a separate entity and he was his own machine gun team, he would have to be given a separate order to move and fire. Okay. The next one is the reverse, fire and maneuver. Same as above, but the unit fires before it moves. So it goes bang, 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 and then moves, which might be good against a unit that's trying to ambush you, because if you're able to pin him, then you would be able to pin him and move, and he would not be able to ambush you because he would be pinned. Then there's something called top speed. I don't know why they call it that, but what it is double move, right? Double time. That's what I would have called it. The unit must move fast. It can move up to twice its movement distance, but may not do anything else because it's running. It's moving flat out. So basically, instead of shooting and moving, or moving and shooting, it just does move and move. Like I said, you're getting two actions, basically. Okay, open fire. So that's without any movement. You just shoot. A unit will hold its position and lay down heavy fire. You may fire twice. Okay, so there you go. Instead of moving, now it's shooting. The unit can use any type of fire with any available weapon. It can target the same enemy unit or two different enemy units. So I'm going to give them an open fire order. This guy shoots over here. And then once that's over, these guys shoot over here. As long as they're both in the arc of fire and line of sight. Declare both targets before rolling any dice. So I can't say these guys are going to shoot there, and then I roll dice and I see I was ineffective, and then I say, okay, I'm going to shoot there again. You can't do that. If there's two elements that I want to shoot at, I have to go, I'm going to shoot at this guy twice, or I could say I'm going to shoot at that guy once, and I'm going to shoot at this guy once, and then roll the dice. Okay. Disembark, embark. A transport vehicle carrying passengers will move, then any passengers it wishes may disembark. So it basically makes a full move, not a top speed move. So let's say it moves 8 inches, or whatever this vehicle's movement is. Then anybody on the truck can jump out. Okay, place the disembarking unit within 4 inches of the final position. Alternatively, the passengers can disembark first, then the transport vehicle can move. That would be an option where you want to drop somebody off and then move, because maybe you want to drop your mortar off here but bring the infantry closer to the enemy. Or maybe you've got an anti-tank gun you want to disembark. But that's actually limber on limber. Never mind. So you want to drop a mortar off, a machine gun, or maybe you're up close, you want to drop the enemy off and you want to back up. Yeah, so you could drop at the end of your move or at the start of your move. Embark, disembark allows for the transport vehicle to shoot. So it's kind of like a fire and maneuver, because you can disembark and then don't move and shoot instead with the vehicle. Because sometimes you got tank riders, like the Russians did a lot of tank riding. So maybe they got infantry on the tank. You drop the infantry off within 4 inches, and then the tank shoots. It can do that. To enter a transport, the reverse is used. A unit within 4 inches of the vehicle can embark after the vehicle has made a standard move, or it can move after they climb on. It doesn't say anything about it shooting when they're climbing on, only when they're getting off. The next order is unlimber, limber. A transport vehicle towing a gun will move, then unlimber the gun. The towing vehicle may move up to its normal movement allowance, then place the gun and crew within 4 inches of the final position. Alternatively, the gun can be unlimbered first, then the towing vehicle moved. If you so wish, you may elect not to move the towing vehicle and fire its weapons. Just like infantry. It's basically embark, disembark, just with the gun. It's just called something different. Okay, so to reiterate movement, you can shoot, then move, or you can move, then shoot, or shoot and shoot, or move and move. So far, so good. When it comes to a vehicle, like a tank, if you're within 4 inches, you can get on it and it can move. Or if you're already on it, or if it's not next to you, it can move up and you can get on it. Or if you're already on it, you can get off and it can move. Or it can move and you get off. Or you get off and it shoot. I think I explained all those. Pretty self-explanatory. I mean, those seem like they're super easy to figure out. Now, the next one is a little bit more complicated. It's the close infantry close assault. So infantry unit will attempt to move within close assault range, which is 5 inches. Engage the enemy in close assault with pistols, grenades, bayonets, rifle butts, entrenching tools, helmets, whatever. In order to press a close assault, first roll a d6 to see if the unit is ready and willing to close assault. So there's experience levels of troops, and there are 4 of them. There's inexperienced, regular, veteran, and elite. Elite and veteran only need a 2 or better, so don't roll a 1. Regular needs a 3, and inexperienced needs a 4. If you pass, continue the assault. Continue the assault order. If you fail, the unit does nothing and is marked with a pin. So a failed close assault is pretty bad. Okay, to press the assault, the infantry unit can move up to its normal speed, 5 inches, and then conduct an assault against a single enemy unit. Only using the close assault order does an infantry unit gain the close assault bonus. And that's actually later in the game, later in the rules that talk about, submachine guns and hand grenades and all that stuff. There's a close assault bonus. If an infantry unit uses its movement and fire order to approach the enemy, then he can still fire, but it is treated as normal and not close assault. So basically, to get that close assault bonus, even if you're like within 5 inches, you're still not close assaulting unless you pass the close assault order. So there's a little bit of risk reward there. You have to risk failing to get those extra bonuses. Close assault is also used against close assaulting tanks, but that's done in a later thing. Now, the rest of these are a little bit more nuanced. We're only about halfway through the different types of orders. You can request artillery fire. A unit with a spotter, artillery spotter or mortar spotter, can request indirect mortar or artillery fire. But that's all it does. It takes its entire turn to do that. And then we'll talk about artillery later in the rules. Another thing you can do is called tactical coordination. A unit with a senior officer special rule, that's, to me, I think a senior officer is probably a company commander or a battalion commander. But they're in the scenarios, they're in the army list. They have a senior officer special rule, can be given tactical coordination. The command unit can then do nothing. So that's all it does. He can nominate a friendly pinned unit to attempt to remove the pinned marker. Okay, so this would be a time when you have a unit that's out there that's pinned. To remove the pin, you take a battle counter. The pinned unit must then pass a close assault test, because basically it's the exact same numbers. They just call it an experience test, but it's the same chart as the close assault. A 2, a 2, a 3, and a 4 for inexperience. Okay, a battle counter it doesn't explain it here, but it will in the future when we get there. I'm just going to touch on it. You're going to have a bag full of counters, tokens. These counters have numbers on them, and or special events. And when you're required to take a battle counter, you reach in the bag, you pull one out, and that number is deducted from your battle rating. So by rallying someone using tactical coordination, you're definitely taking a battle counter, but you're also risking him failing. And if he fails, he stays pinned, obviously. But you've already taken the battle counter. Yeah, so it's a gamble. Whenever you start rallying people, you are reducing your battle rating. And remember, when you get to 0, your opponent wins. Next order is called rearm. Only a unit with the resupply special rule can be given rearm. It does nothing. And the unit in contact with it is resupplied with new ammunition. I've noticed that tanks, or I should say vehicles with main guns, have a number of ammo. An anti-tank gun, a mortar, a machine gun, they don't have ammo. But tanks do. And this tank might have 9 rounds, 9 shells. And if I shoot 9 times with my main gun, it is out of ammo, can't shoot anymore. So it would need a unit with the rearm characteristic to use in order to rearm it. And it would have to be in base to base. Not a lot of units have the rearm characteristic. If you anticipate a big tank battle or whatever, you might want to put some rearm units on the table. Okay, engineering is an option. Only unit with the engineer special rule can be given engineering. The engineers can use to place demolition charges or remove minefields, and it does nothing else. I'm sure there's a few other engineering special rules depending on the campaign book or later in the rules. Okay, another one is called repair. Only unit with a repair special rule can be given a repair order. It does nothing. And it may attempt to roll to repair a single immobilized or damaged vehicle. Okay, recover. Only unit with a recovery special rule can be given the recover order, and a unit can do nothing else on that turn. You begin to tow a destroyed or immobilized vehicle, moving at half speed. That is important because if you destroy, let's say it's a narrow bridge and you blow up a tank on that bridge, now it's a roadblock. But if you've got a recovery vehicle, it could go up there and tow that sucker out of the way. Okay, and then the last two are the reaction orders. Ambush and reserve move. Ambush. Mark the unit with a counter or die or some other thing. The waiting ambush unit may now interrupt any enemy unit's order in their next turn to use the open fire order. This interruption may not be midway through an enemy fire order. It must be before or after the firing unit is resolved. Okay, so I'm going to back up one and say, remember that scenario I gave you? If he's given an open fire order, this guy can still shoot at him. He just can't do it halfway through. Because remember, this guy will shoot twice. So you can't allow this guy to shoot once, then interrupt, and then let him shoot a second time. You either have to cut him off at the beginning or wait for him to finish. Okay, that makes that a little bit easier to understand. Now, the ambush fire is treated exactly like open fire, so the ambusher can fire twice. He can also target 2 separate enemy units. So it's basically like you're just holding your fire till your opponent's turn. Ambush fire cannot be used with indirect artillery, mortar, or close assaults. The marker is removed once the open fire happens. Okay, the marker is only removed once the unit opens fire, or if the commander chooses to remove it and give the unit another order. So basically, you can put somebody on ambush fire on one turn, and then on the following turn, he'll still be on ambush fire. And then on the turn after that, he'll still be on ambush fire until you either shoot it or give him another order or decide just to remove it. That's good. Now, and he'll also hold on to it even if he's pinned. And then when he's unpinned, he'll still have that ambush fire. Wow, okay. Now, reserve move. A unit given the reserve move does not move on its own turn, but instead waits and can interrupt an enemy's turn, but not an order, to take the top speed order. allowing the basically make 2 moves. It can be at any time in an enemy turn, but before rallying. The marker is only removed once the unit moves, or if you choose to remove it, or if you issue it another order. So reaction move stays from turn to turn as well. Okay, rally. Remember, after you issue all your orders, you go to the rally phase. Okay, the last part of a turn is to rally pinned troops. Units marked as pinned can have their pinned markers removed, thus getting them back in the battle. Okay, but there's a catch. To do this, you must take a battle counter, or counters plural, from the pot. For each counter taken, you may remove a d6 pins. Okay, so if 2 counters are taken, then 2 dice can be removed. 3 dice if you take 3 counters, and so on. Declare the number of counters before taking any from the pot. You do not have to take any counters, but can leave units pinned and thus save your battle rating. But you won't be able to issue any orders to them. Okay, little trick here. If you use tactical coordination in the middle of your turn, you're taking a battle counter to maybe remove a pin off of a guy. But if you wait till the end of your turn, you can take that very same battle counter and roll a die, and that's up to 6 guys you can rally without making a test. So the only time you would need to do tactical coordination is if you need to issue them an order that turn. Like, let's say I've got a guy right here and he's pinned, and I've got a senior commander on the table. I can say, I'm just going to tactically coordinate, get rid of that pin, draw a battle counter, roll the die, hopefully it's high enough, and if it is, then I can say on my second order, because remember that was a first order to do your senior commander, on the second order, I issue it to the guy that was just pinned and now he's not, to do a close assault or whatever. But that's a desperate measure. I would try my best to wait till the rally phase and get up to 6 guys rallied. You know what I'm saying? For free, without having to roll. Alright, well that's all the orders. Now, the next video is going to be on movement. We're going to be talking about infantry, cavalry, towed vehicles, manhandling, vehicles reversing, etc. We'll be talking about all the movement in the next video. Alright, thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.